this company that's like the epitome of, independent creative thinking and is admired like worldwide.
Speaking of mischief, the hardware crew is probably one of the most mischievous groups out of the entire company because we have this power over things. And
Literally.
for instance, around Christmas, we found that my key card for some reason would go into the server room. And so
for
we
some
snuck
reason?
into
You found for some reason that happened?
well,
Just one day it just fell into there. I don't know what happened.
so there's music that plays in all the bathrooms, and there's this internal mailing list that people are always complaining about the music in the bathrooms. So of course we're going to try to target that. So for months we were searching around trying to figure out how in the world they were pumping the music into the bathroom so we could take control of it. We were even considering going as far as like replacing the speakers with our own speakers and doing stuff like that. But we like searched every room that we could get into in the middle of the night around here, and we couldn't find anything. And finally, there's like this back door to the server room, and I just put my card key up to it. I'm like, oh my God, I can get in this door. And we go in there, and there was this rack system. It says bathroom music server or whatever, and we research it really quick, and it's like, oh my God, this thing is wide open. We can just talk to it over the network. And so we Shanghai the bathroom music during Christmas, and there's this Hawaiian music or Hawaiian Christmas song. I don't remember the name of it, but it's like really upbeat and it's really cheesy. We found all these covers of it. We found like an 8-bit version of it. We found a death metal, operatic. We had like a dozen different versions of this, and we set up our own remote server, and we started pumping the bathrooms full of this like Hawaiian Christmas music. And in between each playing of the music, we had GLaDOS from Portal saying different things. We found all these great sound calls that were things like, it's totally normal to start get electrocuted touching the walls, or I advise you not to touch the floors. And so the whole company was just like
Turret Symphony while you're peeing.
So the whole company was freaking out about this, like, who's doing this? And then the IT guys were trying to shut it off, and then we constantly were running back to the bathroom like, oh, they shut it off again. Then we'd hijack it again, and we just kept doing that all day. And finally, to figure out who was doing this, they went through like all the door logs, and they tracked it down. And yeah.
So, Jeri, since you're into mischief, and we have to get a scoop out of this somehow, are you guys developing Skynet in there, and do I have to worry?
What was the date that it was supposed to go active? I can't remember.
A while ago.
They keep changing it in Photoshops, and I don't remember the real date.
We are working on some pretty cool stuff. It's neat working with all the folks we've hired for hardware are so product focused and can think clear to the customer. It's neat working with a group of so many people that we can actually look at this far-fetched stuff and actually start to figure out a pathway that we can maybe deliver some of this really complicated wearable computer stuff in the future, or even, there's shorter term goal stuff too. So, yeah, I think we're gonna make some pretty cool stuff. We're probably gonna botch a few things, and hopefully the fans will be understanding and won't be too mean to me because I'm sensitive.
I'm sure they won't. I love how the robots sentience and do robots deserve rights discussion has become such a huge like debate back and forth before we've even developed robots that have a prayer of being sentient. It's already something people argue about just for the sake of it.
I bet we're a long ways off from that, but you never know.
True. Okay, last question.
Oh.
What advice would you give those interested in engineering, especially women?
Okay, advice. I would suggest that it's probably going to just go back to the earlier suggestion is if people are critical about what you're doing, just try to weigh it. Is it hurting anyone or hurting anyone else? Then and you believe with all of your heart that it's the right thing to do, then do it. And do that with engineering. In engineering, you have to be willing to fight for your ideas or you're going to get run over. And I think the problem with a lot of women is they sometimes will let people run them over because they're just ganged up on so many men around, and they just kind of corner you and try to bulldoze you and run you over. So stick to your guns, believe in yourself. I don't know. It's all, it's all like tacky trait stuff.
Nevertheless, true.
I would say a lot of this stuff worked for me. So it's like every time someone was complaining, those usually were the projects that were the best. The more complaints, the better the projects were.
All right, we're going to take chat room questions now. The chat room is asking, I'm supposed to ask you about your first DEF CON. I don't know what I'm supposed to ask you, but perhaps your first trip to DEF CON.
So first trip to DEF CON. This might be Bobcat. I think this
Yes, it is.
Yes. Hey, Bobcat. How are you? Who is also very much part of this chat room stuff. So I met Bobcat way early. I mean, maybe 2001 at DEF CON, which was a very neat experience. I think that was the year I was on roller skates again and ran from the cops. I could be wrong.
It seemed to be a source of trouble for you.
Yeah, I know. It's skates, trouble. We were in No, that was a different DEF CON. Well, anyway, this is a good story. I'm going to tell it anyway. We were in the casino, and people were throwing bottles off the top of the building from the penthouse. So the cops came and started busting all these parties. And I'm at DEF CON, which is, kind of an edgy show. I'm not going to hand my driver's license over to any cop. And so they were stopping people and taking everyone's licenses down. So I was trying to get away from them. And so I was trying to sneak around the backside of this hallway. And then a cop came around the corner. It's like, "Miss, come here." And I just booked down the other direction and then turned around the corner and went flying up these stairs on my toe stops, and then skated as fast as I could down this hallway. And then I saw a door open, and I zoomed in, and then there was Bobcat in there. There was kind of like a little mini party going on. I'm like, the cops are after me, protect me. And I'm like trying to take my skates off. So for the rest of the weekend, I was like, people were walking by me and like bowing, like, "Oh, you ran from the cops," which was not all that uncommon when I was just this punk teenager. We used to just go out in our little town and we would just try to dodge the cops. That was just our fun after curfew. You see a cop and then you just, the group would just go off in all directions.
Mischief as a child. All right. Question, as seen on TV pinball machine, happening, not happening?
So far, not happening. So this is a pinball machine that I put together for a hack weekend. So we used to do these hack weekends in the chat. And so it's just a homebrew pinball machine. And I got pretty far. I showed the concept, but I don't have too much interest to continue on that one for now.
Okay. Let's see. How does Valve feel about DRM, and how do you feel about DRM?
I'm not a big fan of DRM. I think that a lot of it's ridiculous in the hardware space, and that's my angle. For instance, DRM on video links up to the monitor are absolutely ridiculous because you might encrypt the video and make all this hardware really complicated and consume a lot of power for no reason, because at some point it's got to turn into real pixels. And those pixels can be plucked off at that time. Even holding a camcorder up to a screen is like the easiest way to do it. And anyone just slightly savvy with electronics could pluck off the pixels right as it goes into the monitor itself. I mean, into the glass itself.
So it's not really fail-safe anyway.
Yeah, every time, I've worked on quite a few chips that have security in them, and it always ends up the same. It's a week-long meeting of all the engineers together, about ready to take each other out to the parking lot and beat each other up. And my favorite thing to always say to them when we're talking about different security mechanisms for chips, at least, is that no matter what you do, I've got an electron microscope in my garage and I can take the top off that chip and see what you're doing, and I'm just an average person. So most of this stuff is just absolutely ridiculous. It's like putting locks on your front door. It just keeps the honest people honest.
Let's see. I wanted to ask why you think lately a lot of gaming companies are the target of people stealing basically identity theft or hacking in to get lists of people. Why do you think that game companies are being targeted in particular?
I just think it's just a large populace of folks.
And what would you do with such information? Because it doesn't seem like they're actually breaking into individual accounts to steal your your characters or whatnot. And it doesn't seem like credit card information is necessarily being taken. So what would be the purpose of something like that?
I don't know.
Spam.
What?
Spam.
Just spam, send using email
Maybe
addresses.
spam.
Carding.
I know
that
there's
sort
some
of stuff.
cases out there where a lot of the people involved with the hacking were just doing it as a challenge. Yeah, I just think back to the days when I was a kid and screwing around war dialing with my modem, like every phone number in the town to see what modems existed out there. It was not to cause trouble, it was just exploration.
That's entirely the case. Exploration.
Okay, let's see. What else do we have?
In the meantime, while she looks up another question, I particularly like the Slayer pinball.
Slayer? I don't know that
Yeah.
one.
It's a band, but there's
Is it a
think they-
custom pinball?
nope. I think originally it was a iTunes app pinball game, and then I saw one where they had made it into a actual physical cabinet.
Wow, I'll have to look that up. I thought I knew pretty much every pinball on the planet. There's not a lot of them, so no, I take that back. There's a lot of pinball machines. They've made them for like 80 years, so there's a lot of them pre-1970 that I've never seen.
I want to throw a thank you out to Jessica, who introduced us, and she also
Oh.
wants to know she can be your
I
sister.
love Jessica.
That's her
What?
chat
She
room
wants-
question. Can she be your sister?
Oh, right here. She's always been my sister. Yeah, Jessica, ran into her. I mean, a lot of you probably know her from PAX. I mean, she's amazing. You go to PAX and you see her, and she has like guys swarming around her, like, "Oh, Jessica." Well, and ladies too, I guess. But yeah, occasionally would drop into our chat room. She discovered our stuff that we were doing, and she would contribute. So, yeah, she like had her own custom voice and stuff in the chat room, and would cut up with us, and it was a good time.
Excellent. Okay, we are getting ready to close. Is there anything else you want to share before we do?
No, I think we covered it all. I really appreciate it. I've had a great time on the show.
Oh, it's been super fun. Thank you for letting me fangirl all over you.
Well, anytime you want me on, that'd be fine with me. It's a lot of fun. I've been away from the podcast scene for the last year, doing all this Valve stuff. Been pretty stealthy, not making many videos or anything. So it's kind of fun. You're the first podcast this year.
All right. Yay.
Yay!
Okay, a big thank you to Jeri, and you can find her on Twitter at Jeri Ellsworth, and most places at Jeri Ellsworth if you're following her, on YouTube as well. And if you'd like to leave some feedback or keep up with the news, you can find me on Twitter at Gray Area Podcast, at Facebook/Gray Area Podcast, or on iTunes. If you have any gray areas in your relationships or just need a new perspective, email your questions, advice, or suggestions to genessegray@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week with a new episode.